Hello, whilst Forest Focus, Nottingham Forest goes to Brentford on Saturday with further reason for optimism after the Bees suffered a double injury blow last night in the Carabao Cup. We'll preview that game in full, reflect on the year of Nuno, and discuss the latest on Chris Wood's contract situation in the company of, first of all, Greg Mitchell. Greg, good to have you with us. How are you doing?
All right, yeah, good to be here. Bit tired, been on nights, but yeah, ploughing through.
You weren't out with the overlap people last night, then. I see you were back on that.
Yeah, no, it's good. Did 2 episodes. First one was out yesterday, and then next week's, or the one just in the New Year's, about the price of football with what's his name?
Oh,
Forgot his
Kieran
name.
Maguire.
Kieran Maguire. So
Yeah,
that
he's a
was
nice
really
guy.
interesting. Yeah, it was
Yeah,
really good, that one.
oh,
So
that's good. Have they
yeah.
moved you up to the top table with the big boy clubs now or not?
Yeah, they're trying. They're trying. Well, it's hard, isn't it? Because they don't want to, but they're going to have to soon.
Also with us today is Paul Morley. Happy birthday, Paul Morley. How are you?
Thank you. Very good. It's a pleasure to spend just a small part of my birthday with you two fine young gentlemen. Yeah, no, 46 today. So yeah, treating life like a game of footy. So first 45, just about got my nose in front, I think, and come out for the second half on the front foot. Look to press home the advantage and hopefully last the full 90. So yeah, see how we go.
Oh my word, what an analogy. Excellent, excellent. Well, yeah, you can save more good stuff for that for the next 45 minutes or so. How are you feeling about Brentford? I'll ask Greg this because he has an irrational hatred of Brentford. How are you feeling about this game, Greg Mitchell?
It's not rational.
Well,
They're
I'll
annoying,
rephrase the
aren't
question. Why do you hate Brentford? Because Billy the Bee, your mate, did the opposition preview yesterday, out tomorrow. Lovely guy.
Yeah.
How can you dislike his club as much as you seem to when he's your mate?
Well, I mean, cheers, but they're just annoying, aren't they? Everything about them. Thomas Frank just does your head in. The original XG club really do shout from the rooftops about how they're the best club in the country when they're clearly not. Just everything, the experience when you go down there with the stewards, and just it'll just be nice to beat them. The Ivan Toney thing last year that was just ridiculous, like the fanfare for him. Just we've been around them for years, haven't we? I think that's probably part of it as well.
Yeah, they have a beef with Cooper as well, don't they? Going back to Swansea.
That's what started it. When I mean, I love Billy; he's a great guy. But him and his mate, who they did the podcast with, just wouldn't accept that Cooper was a good guy. So yeah. Then when they beat us in the last minute, I think when it looked like we were going to go down, was it first season in the Prem? They weren't very nice after the game. So there's loads of things, but it's just Brentford, isn't it? They're annoying.
Yeah, their stewards were annoying last year as well. Yeah, I remember that one. Yeah. How are you feeling about the game then, Paul? Not Brentford Football Club. How are you feeling about the game?
Well, it's interesting. Brentford's probably the nearest Premier League ground to where I live. It's probably about 7 miles away, I would think, something like that. Yeah, I'm feeling pretty bullish about this game. I think I noticed obviously their cup game last night, and when they got through to that round and looked at that fixture they were going to have, particularly with getting drawn against Newcastle away. I mean, that was a right result for us. You think they probably would have stayed over last night or flown back really late. And probably then before they've only got half a day today and tomorrow to prepare for our game. So I'm feeling positive about it. I mean, I know they've got a really good home record, but you look at who they've played at, and I think it's pretty much only Bournemouth out of all the top half teams they've played. Most of the teams they've played have been in the bottom half. So yeah, I think we can definitely go there and get a result, and I'm feeling pretty confident.
What about you, Greg? How are you feeling about the actual game in general?
Yeah, I mean, like Paul says, everything's kind of going in our favour. The fact the injuries hit them straight away yesterday, didn't they, during the game and one before? But we can beat any team on a day. We can either turn up like we did against Liverpool and Man United, or hopefully not, but do like we did against City and Arsenal. But I think Brentford's home form, we're not going to treat them. Well, we're going to treat them with a lot of respect, but it is about time that we have them on at the new ground. So why not? I'm confident.
It's interesting. We reference the home form, which is certainly true, but they do go into this game with some problems, Paul. They already were pretty leaky at the back. They lost Vandenberg to a groin injury last night. They lost, I think, before the game. They lost Pinnock to a hamstring injury during the game. So that's two of their starting defenders that are out. Does that give you, optimism, confidence? Does it change how you would like us to go about the game in terms of how attacking we are?
Yeah, it's interesting about the lineup, isn't it? Because I think I'd sent you a lineup, which I'm sure we'll get into a bit later on. With it, obviously before they had those injuries last night, so I'm sort of now thinking maybe do we maybe be a little bit more on the front foot than I'd originally anticipated. And like Greg said, maybe just the original thinking was go there, show them a bit of respect, obviously not too much, but be compact, be solid, as Nuno would say. But I think it gives us the option whether we start off in a similar fashion as we did against Villa, and then use the substitutions to advantage as the game wears on. I think either way, there's merits for going with a slightly more attacking lineup or keeping it the same. So whichever way we go, I'll be comfortable with, to be honest.
We haven't done that well there, Greg. So is it one where if we leave with a point, are you happy? But you would obviously want to win. It's one you believe we can win, but a point's not a disaster, I suppose, is what I'm getting at.
Yeah, I don't think a point's disaster at any ground, but it's one we certainly can win. Our form's just really good at the minute, and they'll know that. We should be going there with a lineup ready to win, and I think we will do. I mean, we've been close to getting something, the last minute goals and stuff like that, but at the old ground, I remember some great days. I mean, some good wins there, so it's not impossible. But I mean, as much as I don't really like them, you've got to respect what they do and how they do it. So they're no mugs.
Before we get to our lineup, then we've only got one, but we can talk around it in general. Just a reminder that I think this is on Friday night, Friday daytime, basically 1 p.m. till 7 p.m. 80s and 90s mixtape at the Nav. The ultimate Christmas daytime party. Tickets are £5 with a free drink. Steve Miguel and Funboy 2 are on the bill. Who was it who said they look like? Was it Guy Mowbray? He said they look like Jonathan Greening and Gaza, I think, the Funboy 2.
He does look like Greening.
He does a bit, doesn't he? Yeah. So if you want to see Jonathan Greening tribute act, search gigantic.com for tickets. That's the thing to do. And if you wanted to hear the Guy Mowbray interview, that's been very well received. So do check that out as well. Right, let's go to our lineups then. I've been pottering away in the background. Sorry, doing something. Paul sent me a really good table to do with Nuno that we'll pull up later. But I'm back in the game now. Right, lineups. Here we go. This is the team Paul sent initially, which, like you said, he might qualify now, but it's unchanged from the Villa game. So that would be Sells in goal, Aina, Milenkovic, Murillo, Williams, Anderson and Yates in midfield, Dominguez, Gibbs-White, Hudson-Odoi in behind Chris Wood. Still the same team deep down, Paul, or would you, I guess Dominguez is the one you swap with potentially? Or you muted? You're muted, Paul. Unmute yourself, Paul Morley.
Sorry, the dog was barking earlier. I muted myself. I think I probably still would go with this same lineup. I know I contradicted myself slightly when we talked about the injuries, whether you'd possibly start with Elanga, and as you say, maybe Dominguez would be the fall guy if you went down that route. But I just think, I think one thing that I've been sort of crying out for, and I think a few of us have for the last few weeks, is a bit more solidity in the middle of the park, and we absolutely had that, in abundance against Villa. That really showed through with Dominguez coming in and just adding that extra body when I guess what it did do, it made us pretty one-dimensional in terms of attacking down the left, particularly in the first half. So I guess we just need to be wary of that and don't make ourselves too predictable. That's the only, I guess, concern, with this sort of lineup is going forward. We've only got the one sort of wide outlet rather than the two. But I think I would definitely start the game this way, in the same way that we did on Saturday. Look to obviously use the bench in the same way that we did against Villa.
I should say this lineup, we're doing this, Nuno's going to give team news shortly. I've not heard anything about Yates and Murillo being in doubt, but they did go off quite early in the last game, especially when Murillo goes off, your ears do prick up. So we'll keep an eye on that, but we're working on the assumption that he's fit here. Right, Greg, what's your take on that team? Would you do anything different? Maybe you've had a few minutes to think about it there or not?
I would love that team to start because it means Yates and Murillo are fit more than anything. Elanga's crazy, isn't it? Just how good he was and the impact he had coming on. But do you hope for that again, or just start your most impactful player? So I think I'd probably start with Elanga and get the Hudson-Odoi and Elanga combination going again. I mean, if Murillo's injured, then we've just got a fantastic bench, haven't we? So it shouldn't matter too much. Yates, for me, like really needs to be fit. And it's a weird one as well, just because of that academy run. I just love having that academy player since like the 1940s. So it'd be such a massive shame if he is injured. I mean, he just doesn't get injured, does he? He's unbelievable. But again, if he is, there's going to be people raring to go. I don't ever remember having a stronger bench than we've got currently. So it is nice. It's just it's quite a relief to know that whatever the 11 are on Saturday, no one's going to go, oh, why is he playing him? It just doesn't happen anymore. We're treated at the minute.
A few players Greg mentions there that we should pick up on then, Paul, starting with Elanga. It's an interesting one, isn't it? A bit of a double-edged sword, like Greg said, and other people said. Do you keep using him as an impact sub because he made the impact, or do you throw him back in because you hope he's got his confidence back and it's the catalyst that really gets his season going now? Well, I mean, I guess it's based on what Nuno sees in training as much as anything, isn't it now?
Yeah, absolutely. I don't necessarily think there's equal merit. I think for going with Elanga to start with. Like I said myself, I've argued myself already twice on this podcast about whether Elanga should start. So I'd have no bones about it. And I think you're right. He's clearly. I think we saw. I don't know if you've watched the highlights. I've watched it a few times, but at the end, there's a really nice moment where Toffolo embraces him, and the camera's right up there, and Toffolo just sort of looks at him, points at him, and says, "Yeah, you deserve that. You deserve that." So clearly the whole squad are behind him, and are really made up for the positive impact that he had on Saturday. So he's obviously going to be confidence-wise going to be up there. Again, it's down to man management. I think Nuno seems pretty good at explaining to people, even if they're not starting, that they're going to have an important part to play in the game. And I think, again, you view matches now as 16-man teams rather than 11-a-side. Everyone, particularly the way Nuno uses his subs, chances are we're going to use at least 4, probably 5 subs. So everybody's going to get their opportunity to have an impact. And like I say, whether Elanga starts or comes on, I'd be pretty comfortable either way.
Jackie says that she read somewhere that they were fit. I hope that's right. Obviously, Jackie, I've not seen that one myself, but hopefully you are correct in that one. Nico Williams, Greg, Steve references him, and Gary says about will Moreno come back in. I mean, I thought Nico was really good last week. Tough to drop him, but Moreno's done very well in general, I think, hasn't he, as well?
Yeah, again, it's just one of those lovely situations. Williams has been fantastic. He's been out of the team for a while, really, hasn't he? And he's played so well. But I mean, Moreno, I love the fact. Did you see all the Villa fans giving him all the stick for how he? I love the fact he's like that. He wants to be here. He almost forgot who his parent club are. So I think Williams deserves to keep the spot, but it's such a hard decision, and I think we've just got to trust what he sees in training this week. And I know that's a bit of a cop out, but it really is a coin flip for me with who starts there.
Yeah, I think it's a man management thing as well. Like the message it sends to Nico, who was patient to get his chance, and then he's taken it. I would think Nico should start. But the longer term questions up in the air between them. But I would back Nico this week. It sends a good message to pick him. Would you, Greg, be bothered if a Forest player was out on loan and celebrated a win against Forest?
Yeah, I would. Yeah, I think I would, because you've got to have a little bit of respect. And I hadn't actually thought of it in that way. But for me, as a Forest fan, it was a fantastic sign, and we want to sign that guy in the summer. I think it'd be a great signing for us, and I think that was a message to both clubs, maybe. So I liked it as a Forest fan. If it was the other way around, I'm sure I'd be moaning, but it isn't.
Yeah, I don't think Moreno's done anything wrong. They loaned him to us. He didn't agitate for a move. He'd been a good servant for Villa. They spent 35 million quid on a player to replace him who hasn't got in the team. So I think Villa have messed up a bit, and we're benefiting from it. So I'm not blaming him for it, certainly. Just if Murillo is out, Paul, would you just play Morato in a 4, or would you just want to go to a 3 for a bit of extra security with no Murillo, or not?
I think Morato in a 4. I think he's shown enough in the games, although I haven't said that. Apart from, I mean, he came on in a 4 on Saturday, didn't he? It's the first time we've seen him in a 4, really. Every other time he's come on, he's been part of a back 3. So, I thought he was pretty faultless again. Obviously, got the interception that led to the final goal. So he's next cab off the rank, I think, and I don't see any reason to change the formation and change the template just because Murillo's not fit. I guess what you do potentially lose a little bit of with Morato replacing him, if that happens, is possibly a bit of pace. I'm assuming that Murillo is probably the quickest by quite some distance out of the 3 of them. So that's just one thing to be mindful of. I would bring Morato in and wouldn't necessarily look to change the shape too significantly.
Yeah, same. Like James says, he looks like he fits into a 4 quite well. Maybe the back 5 is like a tactical thing, so I'd be happy with that. And if Willy Bolly is selected as well, then all fine. Anything else you want to say on the game, Greg? We've got a couple of other topics I want to touch on in more detail. Anything else you want to say on the match or not?
No, not really. We've just got to go down there organised like we have done for the majority of the away games this season. I mean, our league form's pretty much mirrored, isn't it? Home and away. So we should be as confident away from home as we are at home. I think we keep talking about Brentford's home form, but like Paul says, they've not really played anyone yet. And we're a legitimate top 4 team. This isn't something that we're used to be doing for the past, I don't know, 5 or 6 years. Brentford have always been on the pitch a better team than us, and that switch now, then they're not. So it really is a massive chance, huge chance to get a win.
One topic we've not touched on, Paul, is just the condensed games. We've got 3 in a week. I suppose some players might get rested in one of these games. I suppose I'm thinking of Chris Wood. Obviously, we've got this game on Saturday, so that'd be the 21st. We play on the 26th against Spurs, and then there's the 29th at Everton. So 2 out of 3 fairly long away trips and a tough game at home. Would you maybe expect some rotation in, I don't know which game, maybe the Everton game? I don't know. It's difficult, isn't it?
Possibly. I suppose it depends how the results go. I think you treat these first 2 like they are, you go with your best 11 available, and you look to get bodies out on the pitch wherever you can. If you want to pick certain players, you want to pick them for these first 2 games, and then maybe reassess for the Everton game. I think what goes in our favour a little bit, certainly, obviously, we've already touched on it compared to Brentford, is we've had a week leading into this first game at least, and then I think Spurs don't play till Sunday, so again, coming to that game, we'll have had an extra day compared to Spurs when it comes to that game. So, yeah, I think it's a case of to roll out the old cliche, take each one as it comes, and then see, assess and see where we are. But I think you're right. Maybe if we are going to rotate, possibly it'd be the Everton game. But hopefully we can give ourselves the luxury to be able to do that with 2 good results before then.
Yeah, I think so. I think do you attack the first 2, Greg? And if things are touch wood, things are going okay, and you can maybe bring Chris Wood off after 70 or something. If the game's decided either way, hopefully a positive way. And is that how we kind of perhaps go about it?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure Chris Wood needs a rest, does he? He's not really shown any fatigue or anything like that. I just think we go for each game and then assess there. We might rest one player and then they get injured the next. I just think you've got to go for your complete strongest side, and then obviously when the cup game comes around, that's the opportunity then. That's the chance to give others a go. But no, I just think strongest side, fittest side for that week, and do that.
Yeah, that's a good point about the Luton game I hadn't considered. I mean, you could go really light into that game when you consider Luton's form. There is an element of risk in that, certainly. But yeah, that is a good point. And well done to the club as well.
Yeah, I was just about to say that. And they've just reminded me. No, I've just been reminded I've got to sort my ticket, but 15 quid's brilliant. I hope a lot of people are able to go that aren't usually able to go, and especially some of these kids that are desperate to watch this team at home that haven't been able to, because it is so hard to get tickets now, and understandably hard with the hoops you've got to jump through to get them. So it'll be a packed City ground and hopefully a good result, but really looking forward to that one.
Yeah, well done to the club. I think they got the Newcastle Cup price, Carabao Cup prices wrong, but they've definitely got these ones right. Much more fair or judicious, I guess. So yeah, I mentioned Chris Wood, Paul, because partly because of his age and he's got a lot of miles on the clock. More updates around his contract situation this week. Tom Colomossi in the Mail reporting that Forest have effectively offered him 1 year at 100 grand a week, which would make him, one of our highest earners, unsurprisingly. I think he's on something like that now. Wood wants 2 years, which makes sense. Forest are reluctant to give it, which makes sense. Is this one that you think, obviously you hope it gets resolved with some kind of compromise around, performance-based stats next year or something? How do you see the situation?
Yeah, possibly. I think they'll work it out. I'm pretty sure. He obviously he's having the time of his life. He's clearly enjoying his football, arguably now more than ever before. So he's not going to want to go anywhere else. He's shown what he can give to the squad. So we're not going to want to lose him. Yeah, I'm pretty sure they'll work it out, and there'll be some compromise. I think it's with all these things, you always have a starting point, don't you? That and I guess he's experienced enough to know that there'll be a bit of negotiation to be had, and I'm sure they'll get to a place where both parties are happy, and he signs on the dotted line, and hopefully that gives him even more of a positive feeling to go on and carry on the form that he's in now.
The timing's always interesting with these things, but I think we're about 11 days from when you can negotiate with foreign clubs, and I suppose I'm thinking of Saudi clubs there who might come and offer him a lot more money. But I don't know. How do you feel about it, Greg? He's got a baby on the way. His life feels like it's football-wise as good as it's ever been. You believe a deal will get done?
Yeah, he's having the time of his life on the football pitch, and I don't think he's ever been in this kind of form. Looking about him, a year makes sense for the club, and 2 makes sense for him. So I just think you give him something that triggers a second year with certain performance, because he's our top striker, isn't he? But I think what we also have to remember is we probably will sign a replacement for Taiwo over the next couple of transfer windows. So it's all right giving him 100 grand a week for the next 2 years. That's a lot of money that could be invested into a bit of longevity in the future. So I think they'll be working hard behind the scenes, and they'll pretty much give him what he wants, but it'll be his last big contract, that's for sure.
Yeah, it's something. I put one comment up in the chat with James saying give him the 2 years. Another James also saying, from the club point of view, 100 grand a week. If you're looking at another striker, I suppose the dream scenario is you have someone who you can whip into shape over a year, Paul, to be Chris Wood's longer term replacement. I don't close the door on Taiwo on that still, but at the moment he doesn't look like he's in that space at all. But I don't know. Do you just give Chris Wood the 2 years, as James Mercer said?
Yeah, I think a lot of that depends on what approach we take, actually, doesn't it? With the next striker we sign, if you're signing someone that is young and is going to need a mentor, then even if Chris Wood isn't, let's say fast forward 12, 18 months, even if he's dropped off a little bit on the pitch, if he can be there as a mentor to whoever that next person is through the door and really, be add value in that role, then that's another string to his bow that I guess he's got. Him being in the side, being able to act as that mentor for the next cab off the rank is an important part of what he can offer. So I think that might just, as I say, depending on the route we go down. Obviously, if we sign somebody who's 26, 27 already established, then that maybe is a different conversation. But I think a lot might depend on the route that we go down with who that next person is.
Yeah, Gary says it's 100 grand about the going rate in the Premier League. I mean, I think it might be slightly cheap for a goal-scoring Premier League striker. Marcus Rashford's reportedly on 375 grand a week, which shocked me. Yeah, I think Chris. Yeah, 100 grand if Chris Wood's scoring 15 goals a season is one thing. I mean, I would say dig your heels in, but I've said this before. Chris Wood's style of play isn't dictated by. Well, I'm saying athleticism isn't fair. It's not dictated by pure pace, is it? It's someone who reads the game and is clever with his movement as much as anything. So I wouldn't have a problem if they did give him 2 years. I know it sets a precedent for older players, but we're quite a young squad as well. I don't think we've even got anyone else pushing that age now. Maybe
Bolly,
I don't know, Matt Sells is. Oh, Willy Bolly. Yeah, that's a different case, isn't it? That's where you say 1 year. 1 year.
We just the thing with Chris Wood is as well, we're not relying on his legs. His legs aren't going, are they? Because they were never really his talent. So I do think that as strikers go, he'll push into the latter years. Unlike most, they're usually the first to go, aren't they? But I do still think 2 years is a massive commitment, a huge commitment, and one that when we bought him for 15 million and that turned some heads, nobody was thought would be at this stage now. So it's a fantastic predicament to be in. I'd just love to know that he's going to be with us next year, but I'd also love to know that there's someone desperately trying to take his place or able to take his place.
I was looking earlier. This is a random point. I need to buy a player in my FPL team. I was looking at Thomas Souček, so the money I've got. He's 29. I thought he was like 37. I couldn't believe it. I thought Chris Wood wouldn't have known. I've been surprised he was 33. But Thomas Souček, I thought he'd been around for decades. Anyway, that was a side point. Shall we move on to talk about Nuno or anything else? Just quickly, actually, on strikers, Greg. Say we go and buy a striker in January then. I mean, what kind of striker do you think we need? Can we be patient, or do we need to strike while the iron's hot and instead of investing in the young kid, go all in and roll the dice on top four?
I think we've already invested in a young kid, haven't we? And when he comes on, he is exciting. So I think there is one there for the future already.
Who's that?
Well, Souza, I think he's like
24, 25, isn't he?
Oh, is he? He just looks young. But, no, I mean, he's raring to go. Every time he comes on, he looks promising, doesn't he? I think if we sign, especially if we sign a player in January, it's going to be a blockbuster signing. The January window's horrendous, isn't it? You only get a good player for a lot of money because they're playing. You know, the big talk in January is going to be like where Rashford goes, if Rashford goes somewhere this winter, because he's clearly not happy, he's clearly out of favour, and it's quite sad what's happened to him, really. But it's going to be players like that are touted about by agents, and can Forest really go for a 300 grand a week striker? Not currently, no way, and we wouldn't want to. It'd be too dangerous. So I think it'll be invest in the future, keep in the South American leagues or something like that, and keep finding these gems, because it's just striker especially. It's so much money. We're so lucky to have Chris Wood, because for what he's doing, he's one of the form guys in the league. He's probably the cheapest out of the top 10 strikers currently in the Premier League, I'd imagine.
It's over 300 people watching, which is lovely. Do us a favour and hit like if you haven't already. Do hit subscribe, because we did hit 10,000 subscribers, which was lovely, but I knew it was bullshit because it shot up by about 400 overnight. So I think there was an amount of bots in there. What?
You should have just took it and been quiet. You're too honest.
Yeah, but I don't want it to be fake, do I? I mean, it dropped back below 10,000, but I'd rather have 10,000 real subscribers. So if you're watching this and you're a real person and would like to subscribe and get us to 10,000, that'd be lovely, rather than a fake Russian bot.
If you're a bot, don't.
Well, if you're a bot and you can hear this, I mean, that was a bit scary and understand what I'm saying. You know, I was watching a Terminator movie the other day and we're edging ever closer. But if you want to subscribe before you end, the world as we know it and society collapses, I'd like to get to 10,000 subscribers. Right. We'll dip into the chat and then we'll talk about a year of Nuno. There's a few other points that are quite interesting. A few players being compared or as flags inspirations for Peter Crouch, Giroud, who was still doing the business for Milan until last season, wasn't he, as Pat says? I think he's like 37. Sharmake asks about Danilo and Sangare. Sangare posted on Instagram in gym work yesterday, which is good, but it means he's still weeks away from first team action, I would think. I think Danilo's a bit closer, but I don't know. I'm not hanging on to Danilo and Sangare to make an impact in the Premier League for a while. Hopefully one of them's available for Luton. And they can get some. When what?
No, when Danilo went off, and it was just the lull around the stadium. I'll never forget that. It felt like, oh my gosh, this is a sign of the season. You know, he was such a big player, and now you think like it's going to be so hard for him to get back in. He'll get in the squad, but to get back into that team, he's just going to have the the best start to his next chapter of his career, and I think that's why it's important we beat Luton, because if he's not ready for Luton, at least we'd have another chance in the FA Cup, because you just don't know whether they're going to be the same player after such a big injury as well.
That is a good point. Like 5 minutes into the season, watching curtains surrounding a player, you did think, "Oh God, what's going to happen for the rest of the weeks ahead?" Right, just before I go back to Paul, thank you, Caden, for signing up. That's lovely. Steve, we are up the subscriber league we go, and as Gary says, do like and subscribe. Thank you very much, everyone. Paul, I'll put you right on the spot, and I'll throw some names to try and give you some lead. Any sort of players, this is so fanciful, that you'd like us to sign in January or the summer? Because I was thinking about this last night, and there's 2 at the top of my list. And I think they're sort of realistic based on relegation. But Tyler Dibbling at Southampton, I think, is going to be a star. And again, I think we might already be struggling there, because I think he'll go to an established top 4 club. And Cunha as well, because I think he could be a difference maker. Although how he would fit in with Gibbs White and all that stuff, I don't know. But they were just a couple of names. Have you played Football Manager in your head to that degree or not?
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, on those 2, like you say, they're both great talents. I guess what we saw with Cunha last week, temperament-wise, perhaps there's a question mark over him. It'd be interesting to see if he gets banned long enough to be out for our game. I hope he does, although we tend to always be the first game back for people that get banned, don't we? Thinking of Tony and Brentford and stuff last year. But yeah, so those 2 would be interesting. Like you say, maybe they've got their sights elsewhere. The one player that I've seen this season that I really like, and again, it may be a bit fanciful, or may not be, depending on really how we finish the season, I guess, as to whether it's fanciful or not. But the forward lad at Porto, 21-year-old lad, Samu, who scored a couple of goals against Man U in the Europa League. He looks basically like a bigger, fitter, faster Taiwo, if he could get such a thing. So he really caught my eye. So yeah, if he's available for, I don't know, 40 million maybe, and we're in the, if we've managed to finish in European place, then hopefully they're the sort of type of people that we potentially could be attracted. I think that's the big sort of caveat, isn't it, at this stage, in terms of who can we attract, particularly in the summer. January is maybe slightly different, but if we end up in a European place in the summer, that's going to potentially change the window that we're shopping in. So yeah, I think if I'm being positive and thinking that that's a possibility, then Samu from Porto is definitely one that I'd like us to at least try for.
Very good. Do you want to talk about that thing you dropped in the WhatsApp chat, Greg, or not?
It is saying it's possibly outdated now. No, it's just the stadium tour. There's a video out about the stadium tour, and apparently there's some juicy info about the potential renovations at the City Ground, but I'm not 100% now. I sent it to someone else, and they've just sent me a message back saying it's outdated.
Yeah, I think, I can see Steve Balmuch is in the chat. He probably knows more than any of us about it. Until the Section 106 agreements were all signed and sealed, then I don't think anything would be announced. And that would be around infrastructure and transport and the boat club and everything, which is all that sort of stuff that's always been a sticking point. So
what Steve said, I've missed that.
Well, no, I could just see him in the chat. He hasn't
sorry.
I'm just putting him massively on the spot with 300 people watching live. Come on, Steve. This is why the people elected you. Step up to the plate. Your seat's on the line right here now. Come on, Steve.
I want info now.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
While waiting for Steve. Sorry, go on.
No, I was just going to say that the player I still really like, and maybe it is a bit fanciful, but that if they go down, Liam Delap at Ipswich, I love watching him. He scored 6 goals for a struggling side, and I think, was it Man City that sold him? I can't remember.
They might have a buyback thing as well.
Yeah, but well, I doubt it'd be anywhere near a team like City's, but yeah, it'd be a great one.
Team like City? You mean the City that are below us in the league, Greg? Come on.
Well, yeah, actually, it could be in the championships next season, so it'd be ideal for them in there.
Yeah. What was I going to say? I watched that Wolves Ipswich game actually, and he did play well. He bullied their centre halves. So yeah, good play. I like Hutchinson as well, but again, where does he fit into our system? How much would he cost? All that stuff. Right, Steve. fighting to keep his spot on the council. What a good man. Yeah, he agrees that info is probably out of date, and he's trying to get Rushcliffe Council to make a statement on what's happening. So we'll keep following that, but I think it's sort of let's all enjoy Christmas and pick it up on the other side, I guess. I'd be surprised if they announce anything now, unless they do the kind of PR thing. Here's our Christmas present to the fans. So I don't know. We'll just wait and see, I think. Right. Just go on, Paul.
Just talking of social media. I don't know. You mentioned the Terminator earlier. Have you seen the? I think it's Ola Rayner's Instagram with the picture of Malenko on the big screen in the gym. So they do pay attention to social media, the players. So I thought that was brilliant. That was good to see.
They do. Right, just before we get into the final main topic today, thank you very much to Home Move Estate Agents and Ben Sales. Ben is going to extend his sponsorship into next year as well, which is fantastic because he's been a big supporter going back pretty much from the start, along with the NAV, who have always been our headline sponsors, obviously, but Ben's been a hero as well. So if you're looking to move, buy or sell, check out the link in the description. Lots of properties for sale in and around Notts, and as ever, Ben is 5-star rated on Google, and you might bump into him at a game at the City Ground because he's a season ticket holder. Right, it is tomorrow. This is tomorrow. Yesterday, I think, was the anniversary of Cooper going. Tomorrow is the anniversary of Nuno arriving. I'll see how honest you two are. What did you think, first of all, before we reflect on the year? When Nuno was appointed, Greg Mitchell, how did you feel about it in terms of the job you thought he would do?
I felt like it was an impossible task for a manager that was coming in after. I can't ever remember. I mean, I kind of just saw the tail end of Clough, but I can't ever remember a manager being so loved by a set of fans in Cooper. And I just thought Nuno's got no chance. We're going to be on his back quite quickly, and he's got to start quick, which he absolutely did. And he's just this quiet, polite, brilliant manager who just seems to do all the right things. I love that he's our manager. It's been such a great year overall. There's been some incredible victories, and what he's managed to do this season with his own pre-season and getting in some of his own players. It's just like, where are we going to go? I'm so excited to see how long he's with us and what he does. But yeah, I mean, the start of that term in December, I thought this isn't going to be a long appointment, if I'm honest. I thought he'd probably not even make the end of the season. So delighted to be proven wrong. Delighted that he's just such a good person off the pitch as well. I think that he wouldn't, if it was up to him, I don't think he'd do any press conferences. He doesn't seem interested in doing that. But when you see the content coming out from the club, where you almost feel like he forgets the cameras that are there, where he's showing kids around the stadium, or treating them Christmas presents and things like that, you see that he's a real good guy as well. And I remember the chairman saying a couple of years ago, when they sign players, it's about as much as what they're like off the pitch as they are on the pitch. And I think Nuno epitomises that as the manager.
What about you when he was appointed, Paul? What did you think?
Yeah, it was a year ago today that Cooper left because it was my birthday.
Okay.
And it was an unfortunate birthday present. Yeah, I think again, a bit like Greg, I don't mind being admitted. I was, when I first saw his name being linked, I think my first reaction was, oof. And I think that was unfair because my view of him was probably only really taken on that very short stint that he had at Spurs, which actually, on reflection, wasn't that awful. I think when he did what he did with Wolves, obviously Forest were in the Championship, and I didn't really pay that much attention to Premier League football at that time. I was focused on Forest and the Championship. So much as I was aware that he'd done well at Wolves, I wasn't quite I didn't quite really know the story exactly as to what he'd achieved and how well he'd done. And I think Guy Mowbray said it on the show yesterday, didn't he? He just exudes calm as a person, and that seems to radiate throughout the squad. And like Greg said, you read. We talked about Cunha a minute ago, and the sort of blow up that they had at Wolves. Obviously, you've got Rashford at Man United. We just don't. And I think this is a mixture of obviously the way that the manager is managing the squad, and obviously, as Greg said, the way that the recruitment team are clever in about who they sign. we just don't seem to, touch wood, have any bad eggs. And Nuno is exactly the right person to ensure that they all stay grounded, that they all remain focused on what the task is. They work hard for each other. And, the traits that he's instilled into this team have been just brilliant to watch. And long may it continue. And like Greg said, very, very happy that I was, that my initial sort of underwhelming sense of not dread, but just being underwhelmed generally has been massively overtaken by feeling pride and love for Nuno.
Yeah, he certainly wasn't like an exciting appointment for me. When he came in, I thought he'd take us to the next level. That next level being 14th or 15th over time, not like, by the end of this season. I thought that's really good. I think you're right. It's a good point about Spurs and not seeing enough Premier League football, because I didn't watch tons of Premier League football till we got into it. I think if I'd seen Wolves, I'd probably have appreciated the work he did there more. So yeah, I'm I don't know, there's not much you can say really. We haven't already said about Nuno. I think he's the perfect fit for us in terms of what the owner wants. I think he can deliver, but you don't want the whole message being, look how ambitious we are. We're here to make an impact. That can come from one side of the club, the ownership. The other side of it has to be more understated, more calm, as Paul said and Guy said. And Nuno provides that side of it. I think he keeps the players grounded, but the players that have that ambition and those standards are set by the owners, what he wants for the football club. And it feels like it all comes together very nicely. Nuno's now got the sort of squad he had at Wolves in terms of quality. I still think that Wolves starting 11 was maybe slightly better with Neves and Moutinho, but I think we've got more depth on the bench. So yeah, I'm really excited to see what Nuno can do in another year with just a couple more clinical signings. It feels like all the building blocks are in place to take us to where we want to get, whether it's in another year or another 2 years. If there's patience and perspective and all that kind of stuff that you need, then I think Nuno's the man for the job, and he's exceeded my expectations, and I couldn't be more happy that he's done it. What are you going to say there, Greg?
It's just a couple of things. I just like remembering back to how I felt and thinking, wow, he went to Saudi for the money, so this must just be like a cash grab and get out after a few months. And so wrong. And also, one of my best mates is a Spurs fan, and I always get into the trap of listening to him, and because he was no good at Spurs, that was it. Just like he says, Johnson's no good and can only do tap-ins. Then you see him do a couple of assists the other week. So I need to stop listening to my mate and just trust the process. I don't think the owner's really got much wrong, has he? The last couple of years, as much as I wanted Cooper to be here as long as possible, I think the timing now, when you look back, it was correct, wasn't it? Sadly, but it was, and I just think that they're getting the right guy in. Whoever, if it is just him or whether there's a whole team advising, which I'm sure there is, they certainly did get it right. And there wasn't many of us at all who were saying we really want Nuno. It was other managers that have done a lot worse than what Nuno's done for us.
I think the one thing I would say is that, there was people saying in the comments about, love to see him here in 5 years and all that kind of stuff. And I think, of course, that will be the ideal scenario. But I think probably we're all, I guess, wise enough to know that nothing in football lasts forever. So, I think we've just got to enjoy Nuno whilst he's here. I think what I would say is I'm very, very confident that whenever his time comes that he leaves the football club, it will be in a better place than when he took it on. And that's, I guess, all you can ask from any manager. And that's what we got from Cooper. We had 20 odd years of not getting that from anybody, arguably. But I think whenever Nuno's time comes to an end, we'll be in a better place as a football club. And that should effectively give us confidence to not be too fearful about when that day comes, because we should hopefully be in a good place to be able to attract another high quality manager to keep us progressing, hopefully.
It's funny with my Wolves friends in their WhatsApp chat, like there's a guy who's a QPR fan who stirs the pot, and he was like, "Oh, I bet you Wolves lads wish you had Nuno now." And they're like, "Well, I never wanted him to go." And we're like, "Yeah, you wanted him gone. No, you wanted him gone." Now they're all washing their hands of trying to drum him out like the Wolves fans did a couple of years ago, because I think they finished 13th and they couldn't score enough goals But the thing is, they sold Jimenez and they sold Jota, and I don't think because of our owner, touch wood, if we do sell Gibbs White and Murillo, then I think he'd reinvest. And Wolves are always a cautionary case, aren't they? Going off on a tangent here, but if you look at where Wolves are now, having sold all their top talents, and I think they'll get relegated with our owner. I don't think that's going to happen because he'll just pump more money in, and reinvest in the team. If we do have to sell Murillo or I don't know what's Milenkovic, Gibbs White or someone like that. So that's more another reason to be optimistic to me that everything's on a good track, certainly. Right. Greg Mitchell, anything you want to add? Anything you wanted to say before we depart?
Well, there is, yeah, but just on that point, I don't feel like we're in a position where we're going to have to sell anyone for the next.
No, I agree.
I think it's more the fact that they're going to want our players. They're going to really push for our players, especially like Murillo with what he can bring. There's going to be big money trying to come in for him, and it's like you say, we'll reinvest it and we'll do well. But any other business, I haven't done one of these for ages. I'm at the Rick Parfitt Jr. thing on Sunday. Really looking forward to that at the NAV, and I think we've kind of made it into a bit of a work do, so that should be good. But excited about that. But that's it, really. Just get down there. I think there's a few tickets left, and it'll be a good night.
Yeah, he was on Tuesday. Check it out if you haven't already. He's a lovely guy, really passionate about Forest. As a newer fan, you can hear that shining through, and knowledgeable as well. You could hear him, he knows the club, and looking forward to getting to more games in the second half of the season and hearing rocking all over the world. So yeah, check Wick Park out and check Guy Mowbray out. Paul, anything you want to say before you dash off your birthday lunch?
No, just a couple of things. It's actually my mum's birthday as well today, so I'm sure her and my dad will be catching up. I think they're out for lunch in Breaston somewhere this afternoon, having fish and chips at a pub somewhere. So hopefully they have a lovely afternoon. Happy birthday to my mum for when she eventually catches up with this. And obviously, depending on whether I'm on again before, but if not, a Merry Christmas to everybody, to you guys and everybody that's in the chat.
Yes, Merry Christmas, everyone. We'll be back tomorrow, obviously, with opposition preview, and then Saturday. Then we'll do something on Monday with Lewis and P, I think, and we'll have an opposition preview that I'll record on Monday as well, and then we'll do a Boxing Day show, and we play on the 29th, so probably the 29th. I'm not sure what's happening. I'm not sure what's happening around what I'm doing at Christmas anymore because my eyes are just not getting any better. So I don't know if I'm traveling. I'm on my third set of medication now, and I've had my eyes cleaned with swabs this morning, which was as fun as anyone could imagine. So we'll see what happens. It's all a bit of a work in progress. But yeah, Merry Christmas to everyone. Right. I think that just about covers everything. Yeah, Merry Christmas. Have your eyes swabbed.
It was like you tail away and then it was like Merry Christmas.
I hate you all. I know. I do love Christmas as well. I was really miserable.
I hate you all.
No, I drove back from the hospital this morning and I was so miserable. I was really pissed off with it because they said I could be ill for another 20 days. I've got to put drops in my eyes every hour. I was so fed up with it. But I will say as well, the NHS, like so good. All the help that people have, the doctors and the nurses there, really good. So yeah, shout out to the NHS. Right, I think that covers everything.
You're not getting much sympathy.
I'm not getting much sympathy. I haven't looked at the comments. I mean, I can barely read them. So be kinder in the comments because I can barely. They're pretty blurred.
Don't go on about your eyes all the time.
Barnard Castle's a good one. Have you driven?
Someone said at least don't go on about your eyes all the time. Jesus, that's harsh.
Well, you did say you hate them all.
No, I didn't.
Do you know what? Just to take it away from your eyes a second, one thing I meant to say earlier.
No, let's talk about my eyes some more.
Oh,
go on.
It's got your donation.
It's got me £10. Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Robbo, genius. Merry Christmas to everyone, apart from Matt Charlie. Saying that. Paul, sorry, I cut you off.
Sorry, no, I was going to say it'd be interesting to see how they set this match up on Match of the Day because I was doing some stats chat with some of the.
Don't talk about football. Don't bring it back to football. We're talking about.
It's important. This match, if you look, Forest by far and away are the most improved team in the league this season in terms of points per game percentage change, and Brentford are second most. So effectively, it's the the top 2 most improved teams in the league. It'd be interesting to see whether Match of the Day or anybody else badges it up like that. But effectively, that's what it is on Saturday. So it should be a really good game.
I can answer that one for you. They won't.
I forgot to put on the table earlier that Paul sent me. This is well, explain this, Paul, for people. It's so small that people won't be able to read it. It was done on the fly, but just tell us what it is.
It's the league table from the day that Nuno walked in the door. So from the 20th of December last year to today, effectively. Obviously, some teams have played 38 games, some played 36, some played 37, but that ranking is by points per game. So we're basically 11th on goal difference behind Fulham, 50 points from 37 games since he walked through the door. Which I guess if we're going back to what we were saying a minute ago, what was his brief when he walked in the door was to elevate us to that next level, take us out of the relegation scrap and move us into the mid-tier, which I guess was kind of I'm assuming that would have been the brief from the owner, certainly over a 12-month period before possibly going on a bit further. He's absolutely nailed it, and that's the job he's done. And you think of that includes obviously the second half of last season with all the noise around the points deduction, obviously with the impact that had on people, the stuff that was going on around the club to keep the players focused. Just goes back to what we said before about how his calmness and the way that he managed the squad through that patch and obviously the bounce that we've had post having a full pre-season just shows what a great job he's done. So
also about what about Greg? What do you think about your European Dream Tracker? I mean, Danscape does all the hard work. I don't know why it's become your European Dream Tracker. How are you feeling about it, Greg Mitchell? Is it Champions League time?
I thought it'd be close to that yellow line by now. I've got my.
I think that doesn't include the Villa game, does it? So
no, it does. Right. It does. It does include the Villa game. So we?
No, I don't think it does.
No, because we're on 28.
28. Yeah, you had the 28 for the Villa game.
Oh, okay.
Oh. Yeah.
So we're only 2 points behind the yellow line.
We could just tell Matt it says anything. You can't see it.
I mean, you can. Yeah, I'm having to really.
It's your eyes, Matt. It's your eyes.
Yeah, anyway, it's looking. It's the good thing is we're kind of showing that we are in a true position, which is crazy to say, and that track is showing it, hasn't it? We've been there or thereabouts the entire season so far, and we are well into it now. We've pretty much played every team. We're very close to playing every team. We played the top 5 away from home. So, if anything, that is showing we are where we're supposed to be. I've got my a couple of my Dortmund mates staying over Christmas, staying for 6 days, coming on Christmas Eve. So they're
putting them up for 6 days.
Yeah, they're coming to the Everton game, and thankfully we've got some Everton friends, so they're in the home end with them, so they get to watch us and see what the away crowd's like from the other end. It's just so strange that for years they were coming and sitting in whatever away stand they want to with us because it was easy to get a ticket, and now it's like just impossible. We didn't even try, so it'll be interesting to see what he says about viewing us from the other side. But it makes me think about if we ever go and play Dortmund in Europe and things like that. That's where my mind's gone now. So excited about everything with this football club at the minute. It's just stadium redevelopment, everything. It just seems to be all going in the right direction.
Certainly does.
Oh, that's one thing about the Everton deal. There's 14 American owners now in the Premier League. Now the Everton deal's been done, and that's scary because I think 14 is a majority to start pushing decisions. And we know how American sports franchises and things like that work. So I think as the rest, we've got to be so careful and watchful of what they have in store, because you could end up losing relegation places, all sorts. I know it's a conversation for another time, but that does make me nervous.
Yeah, we don't want to be playing, Brentford away in Oklahoma City, do we? Hello, Richard Spray, really. We don't want to play, some random fixture in the Midwest, really. So,
Richard does.
Richard might do, I suppose, but I don't think anyone else does, really. So, good point. Right. Did I say? I gave you any other business, didn't I, Paul? Sorry, there was. So,
yes,
right.
It's Mum's birthday. I miss your mum in the comments, man.
I think she might not be allowed in the comments anymore. I can't remember.
Have you blocked her?
I haven't blocked her. I think I might have I don't remember if I told her not to. She just hasn't done. She'll be watching this later. So I don't know.
forgot your nickname now.
Oh, that's bad.
That's gonna
I'll put
annoy
this up again. So I did a piss poor job of before. I glossed over it too much. Robbo is a genius. Thank you very much for the £10 and the Merry Christmas message. Merry Christmas to you, and a genuine Merry Christmas to everyone who's watching, especially Matt Charlie. I was only messing with him before. Okay, is that better, Gregory?
Yeah.
Good.
Merry Christmas, everyone.
Merry Christmas, everyone. Go and watch a Christmas movie. Then join us tomorrow for the opposition preview with Billy the Bee and post-match.
Great guy, by the way. As much as I dislike Brentford, he's a great guy. Loads of bits. Can't wait to see him on Saturday.
Yeah, he's like full of life, very enthusiastic. If you watch it, he's like the polar opposite of me. If you watch it, so check that out tomorrow. Right, if you've enjoyed the festive spirit, do us a favor. Wait till I hit the video first of all. There it is. Hit like, hit subscribe. If you're not a bot, do really please subscribe. Become a member or sign up for Patreon and give us a lovely review on iTunes or Spotify. Not asking for much there, am I? Well, that's all honest. Right, see you tomorrow with Billy the Bee, and then post-match I was going to say on Saturday with Mark, Emily, and Mikey is the plan. Right, Greg Mitchell, thank you very much.
Thank you. It's good to be back, ready for this crazy Christmas run of fixtures, which could really stamp our authority on the league.
Can you imagine? Can you have 3 points? 3 wins over Christmas, 9 points. We'd be absolutely.
Oh, beating Spurs, that's the one for me. We haven't done them yet. And like I say, one of my best mates is a Spurs fan, so I think they trump Brentford in my irrational hatred league.
I was going to ask, okay, so you can only beat one of those two teams, you would pick Spurs?
Oh, yeah. Oh, that's a cruel question. Usually when we say things like that, we just beat both of them. So, yeah, it'd have to be draw Brentford, beat Spurs. There's about 15 of them in the village I grew up in. There's loads of them. And to be fair, home and away, they're not glory supporters. Their granddad came up from London, and then the dad and uncle and everyone supported them. So there's loads of them, and they let you know.
That's weird. All right. So same question to you, Paul, because you live near Brentford and you live near Spurs. Then you can only win one of the games.
Point away, win at home. It's always nice to win at home, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, it's a redundant question because I think we can win both games. So
yes.
There we go. Right. Thanks very much for everyone's company. Have a good day, and we shall hopefully see you soon.